Alright, guys. There it goes. Finally got it, guys. What up? What up? So, I had some issues, and dude, I don't know why have never done this correctly, but I think I finally figured it out. Or maybe not. Let me just check something real quick. Yes, I did figure it out. So, I think I finally got it. Let's see. There it goes. So one of the issues I have had anytime I go live, I just click the live like stream on my stream deck, and then I'm live. But my content, like my title, my all of that stuff, I have to go in, update it, and so on. Well, I don't get, dude. I don't know why. I feel stupid because it's so damn easy now. But I could schedule it on my calendar. So ultimately, people could see it and people could actually join in advance. And then, of course, once I go live, then, they'll see me and, all of that stuff, right? So I have no idea, guys, why I haven't done it that way, why it took me so damn long to do it that way. But, yeah, finally figured that out, which I feel kind of dumb for not figuring it out sooner. But either way, guys, got it figured out. So I think we're good. Let me do one thing real quick, guys, then we'll get started. Let me see. All right, cool. All right, man. So I think I finally got that figured out, dude. I don't know why, man. I was stuck. I'm trying to get that figured out. Like really, really stuck. But I think I got it. I think I'm good now. Yes. Okay. All right, guys. So again, hopefully y'all guys doing good, man. Today on what, Thursday, dude. This whole week. So we kind of got a little ice storm over here where I live at. Again, I'm from Texas. Live in Texas, of course, and been getting some rain, got some freezing weather, pretty much. Um, a lot of people couldn't go out, man. Some people that try to go out got stuck. For me, of course, I do my work from home. Um, I got my whole office set up. So I'm gonna be making a video. I need to make one of these days, man. I kind of rearranged my office so it's different than what it used to be. You kind of see one. I actually got my workstation behind me, right? So you kind of see the monitor in the background. But either way, that's my workstation. And I have my streaming station, which is here in front of me. So I kind of have this L shape workstation, streaming station, where I do my YouTube videos and video editing and all that stuff. Then also I'm using two computers. I have one for streaming only, like dedicated for streaming, which I use for streaming, video editing, and so forth. Then I have another one, which is what I use. Um, so, for my YouTube video content. And by that, I mean whenever like I'm actually coding and doing things of that nature, I use that computer. So I'll end up sharing it. I'm going to rebuild that computer. So I use it for gaming as well. So I am live on Twitch as well every Friday nights, 9 p.m. Central. Same time as now, but tomorrow I'll be live on Twitch. That's in that during those live streams, a little bit more chill, a little bit more relaxed. And of course, we still talk tech and talk about different things for sure. But yeah, that's kind of what we do in that case. So let's get started, guys. One of the things I wanted to talk to y'all about was, so I read this. Let me bring it up real quick, guys. I read this post, and ultimately what they were talking about, and I think it's very for me it's nothing new, but I know for some developers it is new. It is something that unless you have experience in, you just may not be fully aware of. But let's go ahead and talk about it, guys. So in this case, I'm going to talk about a little bit. It's slightly different than what the post mentions about, but ultimately, the topic here is SQL Server versus MySQL, right? So one of the for me, my own experience when I first started using databasing, like learned databasing, which was 10 years ago, maybe or so. What was my first database that I used? I believe it was SQL Server 2008. There's older versions, of course. That was the version that I used, 2008, right? So damn, what are we now? 2023, dude. 2008. That's 15 years ago, right? So when I really got into databasing, that was like 10 years ago, maybe 11, but around there, 10, 11 years ago. So of course, 2008 has been out a couple of years. That was my experience when I first got into databasing, right? I got into learning Microsoft SQL Server. I think a lot of people that learn, get experience dealing with a database, especially like at a company, for example, is most likely you're dealing with a enterprise grade database, right? Like Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server. I think Oracle, especially like in the last 20 years, have been like the juggernaut of databasing, right? Like I do recall, like whenever I got into databasing, it seemed like Oracle was the king of databasing. That was the database that everybody, all big enterprise companies used because of scalability and performance and so on and so on. I feel their dominance have kind of dropped. And let me put it this way: I recall back in the day when I first started getting into databasing, at least hearing other people that were way more experienced at the time, even their feedback was Oracle is faster. Like when you're dealing with, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of transactions and records, and the list goes on, that it actually is faster. The performance is faster. And SQL Server was kind of right behind it. I don't feel the same, that Oracle had that same dominance no more today. If anything, I kind of feel there has been a slight shift where Oracle had kind of dropped and Microsoft have kind of, went up a few notches. But at the same time, there's other competition, right? Especially now we're dealing with cloud services, and of course AWS has their own version that they have, which is Aurora, and under the hood it's running a Postgres database, but it's a souped up version of Postgres. So it's not using a plain old Postgres. Think of it as a Postgres engine, but it's been fine tuned and been, souped up pretty much, right? And that's kind of what's happening now. So now you do have other options. Now, Aurora Postgres is not free. It's, of course, available for AWS. That's the only place where you can use it. And, of course, you got to pay for it. And it's just slightly more than a traditional Postgres database, but not by much. For me, those are the two that compare again, that are very comparable, right? But nevertheless, in this post, they were talking about MySQL and Microsoft SQL Server. For me, I don't feel these two are as comparable, right? And we'll talk about it, and we'll see some of the responses of in this post. So ultimately, what they're asking here is why are developers still using expensive Microsoft SQL Server version while MySQL is quite mature and free? Now, here's the thing: both databases are mature. Both databases are very. They've been out for some time, right? I'm not sure how long MySQL has been out, but it's been out for a while. Like even back when I first got into dealing with database, and MySQL has been out for a bit, right? So it's not like this new database. Been out for a while. A lot of bugs. All of that has been addressed. Um, so that's nothing new. Um, Same thing with Microsoft SQL Server. That's been out for a while. There's a few things that through my experience, because I have a lot of experience with Microsoft SQL Server. I have a little bit of experience with MySQL. I used it on a few projects, and honestly, there's a few things that stood out to me I just did not like right off the top, right? And for that reason, I never really incorporated that database into my projects after that. The database that I use, honestly, like for my just small projects or whatever that I'm doing, like on my own, was Postgres. And the thing, and again, that's a whole different topic there of comparing Postgres to Microsoft SQL Server database. But I feel those two are the more comparable database, not MySQL. But again, let's kind of get back to that topic. Um, Microsoft SQL Server, it's designed to be enterprise grade. Put it that way, right? It's designed to be enterprise grade right out the box. Now they do have different versions. I believe they still have the Express version, which is a free version. But I believe it's limited on database size, like 10 gigabytes, I believe. You do get a lot of the core features, but there's a lot of functionality you don't get. Like you don't get Microsoft Analytics. You don't get what's the other one? SQL Server Agent. There's a lot of these features that you do not get, and so it depends on what your project entails. Maybe it's not a deal breaker. Depends on how much database size you need. Hey, the Express version can work and is probably okay to function. Um, but ideally, though, you're going to be dealing with this an enterprise grade product. You're going to use the standard or the enterprise license. And here's the thing: the license is not cheap, right? It's very expensive. I believe it's like 3,000 plus. I don't know what the price is now, but I believe it's like 3,000 or so dollars per core, right? Think about it, per core. So a lot of depends on what your needs are, but if you need at least, I don't know, 2 to 4 cores, your license, and again, this is if you buy it, you're gonna be paying a few $1,000s, right? Upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 for that license. Nowadays, people use cloud services like Azure or AWS. At least I do, anyways. So ultimately, if you were to go with a license like that, you wouldn't pay everything up front. You just pay portions of it. But through my experience with Microsoft SQL Server, I learned using that first, right? So keep in mind, I learned using that product first. So as I started getting familiar with just the core concepts, I started getting familiar with SQL Server Agent, which it's an awesome tool. I really like that tool. I started getting familiar working on projects where we integrated BI projects on with. So one of the BI projects that's kind of included into SQL Server, you got to configure it and install it, but it's kind of part of the package. The enterprise and standard package license, in ways, is SS. So you have SSRS, which is SQL Server Reporting Services. So nowadays, again, back in the day, that was actually very, very popular because you're already paying for this license. Now you're also getting a web. Pretty much, it used to be kind of what Power BI is today, but ultimately you host that platform, like in on-prem. It was hosted, and that service gave you like some sort of URL from a specific port, and members of the organization could connect to it, and then you could build BI reports ultimately, right? Kind of like the way you do with Power BI, but not as fancy. I feel Power BI for sure is a few notches way better than SSRS, but SSRS does has its benefits, and it's still used today, and some people still use it. Especially if you're trying to build something that may be going to be strictly internal. But again, I do feel more people are kind of going away from that and using Power BI, and it makes total sense, man. Power BI is very beneficial. I use Power BI, and I actually like it a lot. It's not as feature rich, in my opinion, as let's say Tableau, Domo. What are some of the other BI platforms? Some of those are the main two that come to my mind, anyways. But it's feature rich enough where you have a nice modern look and everything looks nice. Um, Again, going back to SQL Server. So when I started learning that database, I started getting familiar with SQL Server agent, um, which allows you to schedule jobs. It's kind of what it is, but it runs the database and is able to execute jobs. Now, the cool thing about SQL Server Agent, it doesn't just execute database queries or procedures or any of that stuff. You could execute other stuff. You could execute SSIS packages, which is SQL Server Integration Services. So that's a whole different service. But again, it's all kind of integrates, and it's all part of your SQL Server database. SQL Server Integration Services allows you, is again what it is, integrate stuff together. You could have processes where you extract an ETL job, where you're extracting data from an Excel sheet, and let's say you're loading it to a database, as an example. You could create that mapping using the SSIS. There's a tool for Visual Studio, like an add-on, and ultimately it allows you to create a jobs, you want to call it, right? SSIS jobs. I don't think it's called jobs. I think this is called maybe packages. I can't remember the proper name. It's been a while since I used it. I used to use it all the time. It's just been a while. But either way, that comes with it, and you could use that to build different jobs. So ultimately you can have SQL Server Agent run these jobs to do these tasks. That's one example. And you could have other stuff. You could have it run the command line interface. Command line. So ultimately, if you have some kind of script, the command line could be, hey, run this Python file, right? It could be something simple as that. It could be execute a bat file. It could be, the list goes on. Whatever you could do within a command line, you could have the job execute that as well. So I mean, just think about it. There's a lot of things you could do. So it's actually becomes very powerful over time on what you're able to do with SQL Server Agent because of what it allows you to do. And I think I may have that installed. I haven't updated. Let me see if I have SSMS on here. Yeah, there it goes. It's outdated, so I don't know if I'm going to have any issues or not. But we'll see, man. I'll be able to kind of show y'all some stuff. But this is what I'm saying, though. Whenever you install SQL Server, SQL Server database, you have all these other platforms, these tools that work with the database, right? Like SQL Server Management Studio. So this is think of it as your database management tool. It's what it is, right? Database management tool to be able to connect to different things. So let me go ahead and connect real quick to, I think I have a dev environment here somewhere. Let's see. Hmm. Let me see if I could change the name on something real quick. I do have a name that I don't really want to show. But let me see if I could change it. If I'm able to change it, then we could go ahead and yeah, see, this doesn't have that, so I can't do that. Nope, this is not gonna work. Yeah, I need to install it in one of my development databases, and yeah, no, man, I can't. I don't think I have nothing to show without exposing some information that I actually do not want to expose in the live stream. Maybe if I was making a video, I could like blur it out, but because I'm in the live stream, yeah, not so much. Either way, let me go back. So again, guys, so this tool, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, this is a tool, and this tool. I gotta say, man, when it comes to, there's other tools that I use. I use Table Plus when it comes to connecting them different types of database, Postgres, SQL Server, etc. Redshift. I use dbeaver as well, which I think that's an awesome free tool. But SQL Server Management Studio allows you to do all the features that exist pretty much in SQL Server, right? Like you could create SQL Server jobs, like agent jobs, configure that. Of course, you could do, create tables using the UI. But it gives you also constraints, the UI to create constraints, foreign key relationships. The list goes on and on. Some database tools that I have messed around with, some of them give you those features, some of them do not. It just depends. With this one, you have access to anything and everything that's available. You can see activities, which processes, which queries are running at a specific time. If they're running for a long time, you kind of see that. You can see what's locking it up. I mean, there's all kinds of features that comes along with it, with this tool that exists for SQL Server. So again, SQL Server is expensive, but it is feature rich. Like when you compare it to MySQL, the amount of features that SQL Server has does not even MySQL doesn't even come close to SQL Server. Not even close, guys. Like it is that big of a difference. Now, does MySQL have what's the word? What word am I looking at? A place. It does have a place, right? Like not everybody needs all the features that SQL Server has. Some people literally need to just build a basic app. It could be literally an app that they're going to be building at home that they're going to use, for example, nobody else. And they could easily use something that's free, open source, like MySQL, and connect their application to that platform. And that's it, guys, right? All they're doing is writing data, querying data, and that's it. The amount of transactions that they're doing could be very minimal, right? Like a handful a day, maybe a couple dozen a day, right? Let's say even 100 a day, right? Which is nothing, dude. That's peanuts. Like, so that's what I'm saying. It doesn't, in those cases, doesn't matter. Now, I think there's a few reasons why when you're building an enterprise application, you want something like that's enterprise grade, like a SQL Server, as an example. And you want that because, for, again, a couple of reasons. You want something that has been tested and is going to work through the difficult hits, right? And by hits, I mean when your database gets, tens of thousands of connections to it, and each one is running, queries, some that are very heavy, some that are light, but they're all running. You want something that's going to be able to prioritize everything properly. They're going to be execute these queries rapidly, and it's scalable, right? And that's where Microsoft SQL Server comes in play. It's very good at that. When you're dealing with enterprise, you will have different needs. You may have ETL projects that you want to work on. I mean, again, nowadays there's a lot of tools that people use, but nevertheless, there are tools that if you don't want to purchase any tools that oh man, I gotta sneeze. SQL Server does come with tools that you could use, like SSIS is a tool that you could use. You could use Visual Studio and install that plugin or the add-on for SSIS. Ultimately, what that means, it allows you to do ETL type jobs, mappings, right? Where you're going to be extracting data from Excel and loading it to the database, as an example. Again, I used it before. It works, but I would say there's a slight learning curve, not compared to other tools that I've used where literally just drag and drop, right? Connect from here to here, and that's it, you're done. It's not as straightforward like that, but it works and it's free, right? You don't have to pay for it. So it's one of those deals where like it works, it's free. So you're trying to, save at least a little bit of cash instead of spending maybe a few thousand on some kind of platform, that does that. Yeah, that'll work. Um, so give me 1 second, guys. So you Okay, so all right, just had to check something real quick. So my experience. So whenever I first started learning Microsoft SQL Server, and then eventually I started dabbling with MySQL. Especially at the time, I know hearing, oh, MySQL, dude, like everybody, there was this big trend MySQL. Everybody was MySQL's awesome, MySQL because it's free and this and so forth. And here's the thing, not trying to say MySQL's bad. Like I'm not about me. I think it would handle. I mean, here's the thing: MySQL is used by WordPress. There's some applications out there where they're getting some, a lot of transactions per day, and it's using WordPress. I mean, it's using MySQL under the hood for the database, and it works. And it works, good, right? Good enough. You can't really tell too big of a difference. Ultimately, so I'm not trying to make it seem bad. Again, it has a purpose. It does work well. There's some things that I just don't like about it, right? So, kind of giving whenever I first used it. So, just kind of compare the two. SQL Server. Whenever you install, let's say a new fresh install SQL Server, a new instance, you have a database, right? So you do have a default database, like a master database, and then you could kind of create your own database, right? Let's say I'm calling my database, you know, ABC database, right? Like the name of the company, something like that sort, right? Um, or like the name of the application, right? So the application, like SAP, you call it SAP, DB or something like that. So that would be my database. So inside a database object, then from there you could create schemas. And then SQL Server, by default, your default schema is DBO. The way schemas become very beneficial and handy, especially when you're dealing with like an enterprise system, you could separate the different functionalities of the system, right? So you're gonna have accounting. You could put that in an accounting schema, right? Call it accounting. If you're gonna be dealing with, let's say operations, transactions, or something, you create a schema called operations. You're gonna be dealing with, CRM, as an example, marketing. You create a schema for that, and so now you got different buckets, right? You got different like schemas, and each schema from there you create your table that relate to what it is that data represents. Um, and that keeps a nice. You could keep things kind of organized. Then on top of that, you could build permissions that says, okay, accounting people could have access to the accounting schema. Um, salespeople could have access to the CRM slash marketing schema, right? Whatever you call it. Then, of course, operations could have access to the operation schema. So now you can kind of control that a little bit better. Well, with MySQL, when you create a database, an instance, what it does is you have kind of like there is no database object. What it is, it creates a schema object. So your schema, which is by default going to be the same name of your instance or whatever you called it. So that is they kind of it's like there is it skips the database aspect of it, and now you just have a schema. So now if you're trying to create, what I mentioned, like all right, separate the application where X, Y, and Z, right? Accounting, operations. Well, you got to create schemas, which allows you to do that. The problem that I see with it is if you're going to be having a database and this database is going to be utilized for different clients. And let's say you got clients that are very specific, like, hey, we don't want our data mixed in with other clients. We want our data separated. Well, with SQL Server, there's a way to do that. You could create a new database object that would be for that client only. And then from there, you create your separate schemas, right? Your accounting and marketing and operations. But all of that data strictly relates to only that client database, that client's data only, because you created its own database. Where with MySQL, that's not the case. There is no true database. You have the instance that you initiated, and then all you have is a schema by default. And then from there, you create more schemas, right? You create schemas, but in order to do have one database that may apply to different clients, you're gonna have to either mix data together, or you're gonna have to now create different schemas. Maybe it's BYZ underscore accounting, which is going to be the client name underscore whatever the schema is, right? Which is accounting and so forth. Like little stuff like that, which in my mind starts to make things a little more messy, which I do feel with SQL Server has been more set up to, again, be more enterprise grade. Enterprise being you could have an instance of SQL Server that you're going to be using it for multiple clients, and you could easily have databases that belong to each client. And then from there, you can structure the schema and the tables, whatever way you want to, accommodate the needs of the client. Where I feel like MySQL did not really have that design in mind. I feel like it was more designed for, hey, it's going to be for a specific purpose, specific project, and that's it only, right? Maybe whether it be a web or whether it be just some sort of personal project or whatever. I'm pretty sure there are some people that are using it in enterprise applications because, again, I do think it is powerful enough where it would work. But again, one of the big differences to my experience of SQL Server is SQL Server feature rich, man. It has a lot of features, and which the more features that you have like that, it's one of the reasons why people like it for enterprise applications, because if you need to accommodate some of these features, well, SQL Server provides these services for those features. Like, again, for me, one of the big ones do is SQL Server Agent. That's a big feature, man. Depending on what you're doing, but that is a real big feature. It comes in very handy, and there's a lot of things you could do with it. A good example to be, let's say you want to re-index your database every night. You could create a SQL Server Agent job, have that run on midnight or 2 a.m., whatever time, there's no activity, and it would just run. You could have your SQL Server Agent job also do, hey, kick everybody off, just in case there is somebody on, kick everybody off, run the rebuild indexes after you kick everybody off. Like, you could do that with the SQL Server Agent job. So again, dude, I have used it for many different scenarios, many different things. You could have a program to do backups. as well. So if you're dealing with on-prem database with a SQL Server, you could have the job run to do backups every night, save it somewhere on the network, things of that nature, right? So there's so many things you could do with it, man. It's very beneficial. I feel like, anyways. Um, but let's kind of talk about what some of these guys mention. Damn it! I hate that they always add these promos that have nothing to do with the subject, so it kind of gets you confused, makes you click on it. So let's kind of read. So what they mentioned is because MySQL is cheap, Microsoft SQL. I don't know why it says it's cheap because it's not cheap. Scalable run. No, so here's. Let me rephrase that. Cheap is very subjective, right? Like, I think he mentioned the cost of $3,500 per core. Now, in general, through my experience, most databases that I have used at enterprise grade, they're not using one core. They're using probably 4 cores or more. So again, you're probably dealing, $12,000 or more, at the end of the day, and that's ultimately to buy. Nowadays, people are using, cloud services. So ideally, that'll probably be the equivalent of like $700 a month or something like that. And again, I get his view of, like, hey, this is cheap. It is cheap from a sense of if you're running a business and your business is generating millions and millions of dollars let's say per month, right? Yeah, pay, and then you say you're, because most people use cloud now, and let's say you're paying $1,000 a month. Hey, from that point of view, like, all right, it's not that much when you compare it, right? So that's totally understandable. But again, I do feel that enterprises are not the ones that are using MySQL. Startups are not the ones necessarily using MySQL. Some of them may, but I think a lot of them would probably use something more like Postgres or maybe a NoSQL for, again, depending on what they're doing. But either way, I do, what I have seen at least, even, just kind of, I'm always trying to see what's out there, what people are using. And sometimes you could tell by the job posting that people put. When I looked at LinkedIn, somebody may say, hey, I'm hiring somebody. I'm not interested because I'm trying to find a job or nothing like that. I'm interested because I'm always trying to see what technology they're using, right? Sometimes they do go into detail like database, but they specify SQL Server, Oracle as an example, Postgres. I don't think I have seen one so far. Now I try to say that nobody is using it because I'm pretty sure there's some people using MySQL for their enterprise application. But I don't think there's that many. That's what I'm trying to say, right? I do feel that most enterprise applications out there are probably using Oracle to SQL Server. Then maybe after that would be like Aurora, Postgres, or Aurora, MySQL perhaps. But anybody using just plain old vanilla MySQL, I'm going to bet, or I'm going to assume that it's not that many, man. That's just my guess, right? So again, you got to see who's using this. And if kind of it goes back down to if you're working on personal projects, MySQL will probably be more than enough. If you're working on a startup, you have a startup that you're working with, MySQL may still work, right? If you're just building an application and then your needs are very basic and minimal on what it's doing, you may not need all of the features that SQL Server provides. The performance on the MySQL is still going to be fast, like pretty comparable. Like I don't think you're going to really notice too much of a difference up front. Now, once you start getting to billions and billions of transactions that are being saved, I think you probably will see some differences in MySQL compared to a SQL Server. But again, I think if you're at that point, there's a good chance your app or whatever platform if you're like a new startup, it's probably generating a lot of money by then. And that's where you start looking into migrating off of MySQL to something that's more enterprise grade, right? Like a SQL Server or Oracle, or even, again, I like Aurora Postgres. Postgres alone, I think, is very good, but the Aurora Postgres, like, dude, it's a souped up version of Postgres. So I'm a big fan of it. That's actually what I use for my platform, GoShareIt.io. That's the domain, the URL, GoShareIt.io. Take a look at it, check it out. But that's the app that I'm pretty much been working on, you know, and that's what I'm using in the backend, Aurora Postgres. But again, guys, I mean, kind of going back down to MySQL, I think without a doubt, MySQL would work in a lot of scenarios, especially small projects, especially home projects, personal projects, even some startups. I think more capable of working. But I would say once you start dealing with billions of transactions, once you start dealing with a need for the data for different purposes, right? For reporting, the list goes on and on, for different ways to use it. That is where I feel like your SQL Server has better features to accommodate it, right? It has tools that you could use are right off the back. It has reporting services that you could use, analytics services. You want to create some data marts. You could get all of that, create some cubes, and the performance is way greater when you do that than just a traditional transactional database models. So it has all of these features that become very, um, again, feature rich for reporting, for ETLs. The list goes on and on. What you could do with it for job automation. You create jobs using SQL Server Agent to run certain processes on schedule or on triggers and things of that nature. So there's so many things you could do with it, man, that MySQL does not have. And kind of how I mentioned earlier, with you could create different database objects, which makes it very beneficial when you're dealing with a system where you want to have a structure that every client has their own database. There's some applications that I have seen. I'm not going to name the application, but there's some applications that I have dealt with. What they do is they have a SQL Server instance, and every time they onboard a new client, they literally create a new database, and they do that because they want the data to only exist in that database for that client. But SQL Server allows you to do that. You could create objects, database objects for each client. And then ultimately the name will be some sort of code of the client name and so forth. And again, they do that to separate the data so there is no overlap. There are applications you could build where you have one table only, and then you gotta, maybe a column is what determines the client that the data belongs to. And that works fine. Like, there's cases where that actually works. That's totally fine. But again, there's some designs that people want to have separate the data, and they want to give clients their own database. And you could do that very easy with SQL Server compared to MySQL, man. So that's like the big difference when it comes to that, for sure. Hey, what's up, man? We got Python developer in the house. What's up? How you doing? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about yourself? Doing real good. Just been, of course, busy, man. Actually been real busy, man. The last week? When was it, man? Yeah, it was last week. My bad. Not this week, but last week. This week and last week, man. I think about it. Actually been real busy. Just with some projects I've been working on, for work. What else? Actually, a few projects, man. There's a few projects been kind of the deadline to go live tomorrow, pretty much, and this weekend. So because of that, man, I've been like really busy the next 2 weeks. But I think since we're gonna go live with that this weekend, and everything seems to be going good so far. Yeah, man, should be able to have some more free time next week, and then start hitting the YouTube videos again. I did make some. I made one last night. It got released today, and then I got another one scheduled to get released tomorrow. But yeah, I haven't been able to, because I got so busy, YouTube videos kind of suffered a little bit, I guess you could say. But yeah, man, hopefully next this weekend should be able to get back at it. I got a list of videos that I'm going to be making. So I actually been working on some courses. One of the courses that I'm working on right now is a Python beginner course. So what I've been doing though, before I start making the video, I've been trying to document all of the different, what I call chapters, I guess, of the course. And so because I think it makes it easier once I document, so I know exactly what I'm going to be talking about, what I'm going to be discussing and reviewing for each video. It'll make it a lot quicker to like knock out these videos pretty quickly. So that's kind of what I have in mind. Let's see. Planning to travel to DFW in February. Nice, dude. Nice. You have family over here, right? I don't know if you mentioned. I'm trying to think if that's what you mentioned last time that when you came down here. If you have family or a cousin, maybe. I don't know what at least that's what I thought anyway. That could be wrong. Chat. What do you say? Chat GPT sucks in AWS. I asked simple question related to AWS Glue, Redshift. It gave me wrong answers. Dude, so here's the thing. I've been using it too. Like I've been using Chat GPT. For me, I use it against a tool. Use it no different than Stack Overflow, no different than Google search, like the way I've been doing before. There's stuff that there are some responses that it's wrong, dude. It is wrong. And so that's why one of the things I tell, especially developers, man, like I saw this video on TikTok the other day, and the software guy, I don't know his name, but I've seen him on YouTube. He's a smart guy. He's actually, I've seen some of his videos. He's actually a very, very smart guy. But he was telling people, and I don't know if he was trying to be, what's the word I'm looking? This was like satire, like he trying to be sarcastic with it or not. But ultimately in the video, he was telling people, hey, go, for anybody who's new or doesn't know how to program, just go to ChatGPT, type in your question, copy the code, paste it, and you're good to go. And of course, like I'm trying to think, all right, man, I couldn't tell. Some people you can't really tell, but I could not tell if this is a joke or he's serious. Because, dude, if he's serious, like, dude, that is like terrible advice. And he's a smart guy. I've seen the video, so I want to assume it was satire. But again, man, I could be totally wrong. But if it's not, then yeah, that kind of sucks, man. Because you cannot do that, man. Like even when I use it and it may give me back some code, I don't ever use the code. Most of the stuff that I ask for is like small stuff, anyways. I'm not asking for a whole chunk of code, anyways. But either way, man, I have done testing to see what it gives me back on certain things, and it's missing stuff. Like I did a test related to SharePoint. Like, I made some videos related to Python and SharePoint. So I did a test. 'Cause I just want to see what kind of code I get back in response for Python and SharePoint. Well, it gave me back some code, like how to, to connect, with SharePoint, and of course upload like a file, for example. But the thing about it though is like when I started reading the code that it gave me back, automatically it was missing the authentication piece. It's like, dude, you just can't call the URL and post your file. Like, they're nowhere in the code is even authenticating. So like it's missing one of the key aspects of the code is to authenticate. Like you gotta authenticate, whether it be through access keys or username and password, something, man. Didn't have nothing. So again, automatically it's like, dude, what the hell? Like this doesn't work. But yeah, man, you got to be careful with it for sure. You are moving. You are more smart. I don't know about that, dude. Here's the thing. How I mentioned, I've been using ChatGPT. There's a few things that it does, and it does very, very well. Like, there's stuff that I have, again, tested out. And there's stuff, like, there's things that I just can't remember everything. So there's sometimes I'm working. I was dealing with a Panda data frame. And I don't know what I was trying to do at the time. I think I was trying to convert NAs to like blanks or something like that. I can't remember what I was trying to do, but I forgot how to do that. And so I was like, yeah, let me use ChatGPT. Boom, gave me an answer, and the answer was valid. Like as soon as I saw it, I knew it was right. I just couldn't remember at the time. So there've been a lot of scenarios like that, and their answers are right. Like once I see it, I know automatically. Yep, that is right. I just couldn't. There's stuff that I probably have not dealt with in a while, like in Python. Like the stuff that I've been dealing more with Python nowadays have been more like web related. Building websites and APIs a little bit more, things of that nature. But there's stuff that like back in the day, right? Like 5 years ago, even longer, I used to deal with data a lot. Parsing data, transforming data. I used to use Panda, NumPy, things like that. But I just, some stuff I just can't remember how to do, so I gotta search and But for those kind of things, I have found that I've been getting good responses back. But again, man, there's just some stuff that it's crap, dude. It really is. You got to be careful with it for sure. Um, OpenAI should hire. Again, dude, it's not bad, dude. It's actually very good. But I think the challenge is right now, or I think the issue I see it with, you got a lot of people that are assuming that whatever they're getting back is valid, and it's not. I feel at least with Stack Overflow, you have people that have like confirmed that this answer is valid. So even if you go and see something, there's a good chance that that code that's there, it's going to work and it's going to be valid because you're able to see the ratings, right? Like how many people have rated this answer being valid and so forth. Where with ChatGPT, that's not the case. You're kind of you're assuming. You could assume. I don't assume that it's right. I always assume like, hey, it's a 50-50. Could be wrong, could be right. But I'm not going to use it unless I understand what it's doing. If I can make sense of it, then yeah, I'll use that code. But if I can't, yeah, I'm not going to use it until I do my own research and confirm. I like your background. It seems like you're a hacker. Yeah, so I rearranged my office. So I'm probably gonna do a video of it, maybe next week. But I rearranged my office. So ultimately, this is my workstation. Can't really see it much, I guess. I mean, maybe I could turn it sideways, but you kind of see a little bit. So I have 4 monitors here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my workstation, and then of course, I'm in my streaming content creation station, you want to call it. And which I have 2 computers. One computer that streams, one computer which is what I'm showing right now on my stream. That's my second computer, and yeah, man, I have my on the side. Can't really see it, but on this side, I have my server rack. I have like 2 switches. What else do I have? A NAS system. I want to say what do I have on the NAS? I have like 20 terabytes, I believe, of storage. It's actually 24. No, my bad. It is 20. I had 20 terabytes of storage, RAID 5. So that means I'm only could use 16 terabytes. Yeah, because I have 5 hard drives, 4 terabytes each. So that's 20 terabytes. But one, because I'm using RAID 5, one is not usable. Like, you cannot use it for true storage because it's kind of like, storing data from different sectors of the hard drive. So I only have like 16 terabytes worth of storage. But either way, I got that NAS set up because of my YouTube. Man, a lot of the YouTube videos that I make take up a lot of storage. So I think right now I'm probably using about like 4 terabytes maybe of storage related to like my YouTube videos. And because I plan this year to be pushing out videos like crazy, yeah, I need to go ahead and get more storage. So that's why I have that. But yeah, I'll probably maybe next week. I figured out how to do it. It took me a while, but I finally figured out how to do it on how to connect my phone to my OBS studio in a live stream. So if I wanted to switch, I could easily just switch scenes on my Steam Deck and show the camera through my phone. So I could like walk around and ultimately it'll show on my live stream. So I finally figured out how to do that. So probably next week, man, do kind of like a quick walkthrough. Plus I need to clean up a little bit. But of my new setup, anyways. When did I set this up? I think I set it up like 2 weeks ago, maybe. 2 weeks ago, I rearranged everything. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. So I like it because now I have everything close nearby me, right? So when I work, slide over here, kind of slide back. So I like the setup. Now they started paid subscription version, $20 a month for you're talking about Chat GPT, right? I heard that was going to happen. Um, I believe that the paid version is going to be for the number of requests that you want, right? I think something like that, which means the free version is going to be limited to X amount of requests. So I believe there's still going to be a free version, but it's going to be limited to maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 10 requests a minute, something like that. Who knows? But I believe the paid version too, what I was hearing was because ultimately they're driving to have an API. You could use the API, and ultimately you're using the API. You'll be able to use it for other stuff, right? Incorporate it to your web, let's say your web app, or whatever other applications and so forth. And that's kind of where I see for sure the paid version coming from. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I had a small query. If you have time, how can I call a store procedure inside Redshift using AWS Glue? Okay, so you have a query. Really, you have a procedure, right, which has a SQL statement inside the procedure. So that's what it sounds like. You're using Redshift. You have a procedure inside of Redshift, and you want to be able to call that procedure within AWS Glue job. How can I provide Excel data to ChatGPT so it can understand the format and write Panda code for cleaning? I don't know if you could provide an Excel. I mean, I guess you could provide data. So I need to play around with it more, but I know you could feed it parameters in ChatGPT, right? Like for example, I don't know. Let me do something real quick. Like, let me go to LinkedIn. You know what? I think I have it over here on this one. Let's go to LinkedIn. So if I go to, damn, I'm not logged in over here. That's fine. Let me go ahead and log in. Or let me go back. So I know what I have seen is something like write a write a response to client for quotation. I don't know, something like that. And let me see if it takes it or not. But then you could like feed it like client name is, I don't know, John Smith. So see how he kind of like changed some of the names, but ultimately you kind of feed it some parameters to kind of then tweak it for sure, right? Like for example, if you want to be more specific, like some kind of cells, you could feed it like a bio from LinkedIn. You copy the bio from LinkedIn and kind of personalize the greeting or whatever it is you're trying to do. Could it provide takes little snippets of who they are, try to generate something that is related to them. But when it comes to data, like you have an Excel file that you're trying to do, what are you trying to do in this case? You're trying to clean it. You want it to give you Panda code for cleaning. That I'm not sure that it will be able to generate something clean out of that. I mean, maybe I would need to play around with it. I'm just not 100% sure. Probably the approach that I would do there would be, what is it you're trying to accomplish, right? So if you know what that is, maybe it's, split, like, let me delete this, trash this. There it goes. So maybe it will be something like, let's say if you want let me say something like Python using pandas, how to split the city name from state when it's in this format. So it'll be something like, I'm gonna use like where I'm from, Fort Worth, Texas, and let's see if it's able to interpret that. Like I hear again, it will be what it is that you're trying to clean, right? So if you're trying to, when it comes to cleaning, you may have one column that has state and city and state. So in that scenario, you would want it to split it out, right? So as you could tell, it did interpret my example and see how it's able to split it out. So if we take a look at what it's doing here, it's using, yep, there it goes. See how it's splitting out the space, hyphen, and space, which is ultimately, like, it was able to identify this pattern here. So it even put a sample data in here. We have city, state, split it out, and then now it created reformatted it to my data frame to create two new columns. So pretty much in this case, we have one column. Now we have two columns with the data being split out. Well, let me rephrase it. We really have three columns. It did not delete this column. So we have city and state, which is, there's column one. Then you have city, and then you have state in its own column. So I think, again, you could use, like, here's a good example where ChatGPT actually worked fine. Like, I'm looking at the code. The code's actually valid. I mean, the only thing that I would probably do different here would be, I would probably drop this column because I don't need this column anymore. But again, for the purpose of maybe you want to keep it just for validation to confirm that, hey, there's no weird nuances. Maybe you have a scenario where it's like city with no hyphen, right? Maybe just space and state. That's a whole different pattern. So in that case, it wouldn't really split it up properly. But again, overall, assuming that the data is this format, I think you will have a better luck when it comes to cleaning data on figuring out what piece of the data needs required cleaning, and based on that piece, then using ChatGPT in this case to help on that specific need. I think if you provided a full data set and maybe you're trying to clean different sections of the data frame, right? Like maybe trying to split some columns up, or you're trying to remove space leading zeros, or I don't know, just different things of that nature. Maybe you have a field where you have like it's supposed to be for sales amount, but it has dollar signs in the value. Well, you don't want dollar signs because that's an actual text. Maybe you want to remove it, right? But I would probably tackle it more on the individual case by case and then from there you can kind of see what works, and then take that snippet of code. Because again, in this case, this works, right? This, if that's what you're trying to do, this actually does work. And then take what you need, piece them all together, and then you'll have your solution that way as well. Ask ChatGPT, how can I call a store procedure inside Redshift using AWS Glue job? I would ask to import some package. It would ask to import some package, but how to install that package in AWS. So let's see what we could do here. Let me delete this. Let's create a new one. So let's do something like using AWS Glue, how to call a store procedure in Redshift database. So let's see, what do we get? To call a procedure in Redshift using AWS Glue, you can use the spark.jdbc. So in this case, it's actually writing the name of the store procedure, right? Which is what it's doing. So this is where, like, let me log in real quick to AWS. Oops. So let's go to, where's Glue at? Let's go to a job. And I'm just gonna pick this job real quick. So see how we have PySpark already in here. This is included inside AWS Glue, but here's the thing. This is included only though when you create, let me go back. If I go to jobs, you have to create a Spark script, not a Python shell script, but a Spark script, right? So that's what you would have to create in order for that to work. So kind of going back to what we have here, this is using the pyspark.sql. The pyspark package is included in that. So instead of being, one of these, it'll be pyspark.sql import spark session. Let's see. All right, so then it would be our JDBC, but there has to be this is like the long way, I feel like, in order to connect to it. So again, just like down here, right? This is more where I connected to the database. So this is where I had the database in DigitalOcean. I already deleted that, so it doesn't matter if password is showing. That will work, but I'm trying to think. Let's see what there's another option. So if we look at the UI version of it, right? So let's say we say source is going to be where's Redshift? There we go, the Redshift. But yeah, we're not loading it nowhere, so this would not work. Yeah, never mind. That's not ideal for what we're trying to do here. I think in this case, what makes sense, it'll be a Spark script for sure. Which is kind of what I have here for these. This is a Python shell script. Python shell script, I believe, only have the AWS package. It doesn't have the PySpark package, but the Spark script, when you select that option, it actually has the AWS Glue package and the Spark PySpark package, which is kind of what this is requesting. I don't think I have a Redshift though to specifying the drivers, properties, call procedure, which all of that pretty straightforward. Let me see. Let me see if I have. I don't know if I do. I don't think I have a Redshift. I may have. I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I want to say it may be off. It may not be. Nope. Thought I did, but nope. I did not. I know I had one, but yeah, I believe I must have. I must have deleted that because I don't have it anymore. That's a snapshot. I don't need this anymore. Let me. Delete. Yeah, I don't have a Redshift to utilize. I'm trying to think if the let me go back. If I go to let me come back over here. So this wouldn't work because this is more to, again, we got a source and target. In our case, we just want to run a script. I was trying to think if there's anything in AWS Glue. AWS Glue call stored procedure. I think it's gonna be PySpark is what I'm thinking. And again, this, like using like PyODBC or anything like that, that works. But I mean, honestly, you just might as well go with PySpark, right? It's already included. That package, it already exists. But I was trying to see if there's a way where we could call like that instance or create a database connection in AWS Glue, right? Like under database, not database connections, create a connection in here, then be able to call this. See, I did have one, so yeah, I must have deleted that. Let me make sure I'm in the right Oregon. Make sure I don't have it in any other region. I swear it's everything's in and then West 2. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay. So just looking at this, right? I mean, in theory, this should work. Put it that way. I don't. The only thing that I would probably confirm would be this. Because again, I'm not that familiar with this package. But if I were to, it's the Spark session. So read the documentation. So what do we have here? If I go back, Spark session builder app name. Here we go. Spark session will be created using the builder pattern. To the builder pattern, then we have app name. That's where I want to get more details related to that. Create Spark session. This one says .builder .master .app name. So that's where I'm not 100% sure. What is app name used to set your application name? So not exactly sure what that represents though. I mean, overall, the SQL piece makes sense. The only piece that I'm not 100% sure in what ChatGPT gave us is this piece. The name seems like it's kind of more of a name that you create. It says app name, call, redshift, store procedure. Then it just says get or create. So I'm assuming what this is saying is more so if you already created an instance, a session, then it's not going to create another session with the same name. It's just going to get that session. Then you'll be able to utilize it. So, which means this name could be whatever. It doesn't have to be that, whatever you want to call it. And then ultimately, then the Spark will get utilized over here. And in this case, it's the JDBC. Because we do have to specify everything. And then ultimately, we're just calling the query. This is pretty much the SQL statement, which this case happens to be call store procedure. I mean, what it's doing is very similar to what I have done. Like if you're dealing with PY ODBC, some of these other packages, it's very what's the other one that I deal with? A PW is another one, a database ORM. All of that is very similar, right? You got to establish your database, which in this case it would be this URL, which is pretty straightforward, right? The host name, which is very long, the port, and database name. Then ultimately you got your credentials, username, password. This will stay the same. So right at the top, everything actually looks fine. And I think this would work. If it did not work for you, my guess is going to be whenever you create a new job, make sure you click on Spark script editor, not Python shell script editor. So that's one of the key differences. PY Spark, that package for that, does not exist in this environment, but it does exist in this environment. So that's the big difference right there. Um, to do it that way. So let's see, what time is it? So it's 10:30. I think we have enough time. Let me see if I could spin up real quick. Um, which is not going to be in here. What am I doing? Let's get out of this. I'm going to go to Redshift. My bad, dude. I went to the wrong spot. I don't know why I went to RDS. I knew I had a Redshift environment. Right. Here we go. See, it's pause. Dude, I don't know why I went to RDS. I should have known better. All right, cool. Let me go ahead and turn this bad boy on. See, I already got one. So let's resume. Resume now. So, but with this code, how will AWS know what is the Redshift connection name? So let's walk through that real quick, right? So let's kind of copy what we have here, because I do, so far what I'm seeing, I think this actually does work. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna tweak this, right? Let me make sure you can see it. Yep, you can. Let's change it to Python. So this is what we're gonna do. This could be called whatever you want to call it. I'll just leave it like that for now. That's fine. This JDBC URL, this is going to stay the same. Redshift to know what it is that is connecting to. Then our host. So the first piece for our host is, and what I'm going to do in order to make it a little bit more easier to read, let me call this host port and then database. Right, so that means for this, let me pass in these in. So like that, whatever I provide here will get populated in there, which is the same thing, right? So let's go ahead and let me go back to where I was at. Redshift. Did I start it? Is it starting? Oh, there it goes. It started. It's trying to start. But so let me wait till this finish. Or let me, you know what? I think I could still get my information. So if you go to Redshift, see how over here on the side we have endpoints? See, even here we have like JDBC URL and so forth. And then we have the ODBC URL. So this JBC or JDBC Redshift, you could technically just copy this. Now, I'm not going to copy that. I just want the endpoint name. And the reason why, in my case, is because I already got things formatted, right? So now I could copy this in. See how it has the port at the end? I'm going to go ahead and take that out, put it under my port name. And then see how at the end I have dev. Dev is the name of my database, which is called dev. Hey, what up, Random? We got Random in the house, guys. What's up? So now I have my host. I could have just copied it, put it this way. I could have just copied everything. That actually would have been fine. I wasn't aware that it had everything in one line. Either way, I separated it out. So this would just get populated in here to build my my connection, my URL. The next thing I need to get is username, password. So let me see where, let me see where I have that at real quick. I don't know if I have that saved under my password software that I use. I don't recall. I have a feeling that I probably did not save it, which kind of sucks, especially now that I actually need it. Let me see where. 'Cause Because I probably saved it somewhere. Normally I try to save, I mean, not normally. Normally I do save my credentials, but I'm just trying to think, man, if this was like very ad hoc, we just spin it up real quick. Let me see if I could reset my credentials. That's probably the best option because I don't know where they're at. And I don't think I saved them in either anywhere. Damn, it's still starting up the overall instance. So let me go back. I think I have to wait. I can't do nothing right now until it comes back. See where it says modifying, so it's still spinning up. No idea what any of this is. So we're going over pretty much some Python code. This is a Python script, random, and again, so Python is a programming language. Ultimately, what we're trying to do in AWS, which again, AWS is Amazon Web Services. So that's kind of where a lot of people, a lot of companies, because Amazon sells web services. They think of it web services like servers that you could, buy like part of the server capabilities, right? Whether it be storage or computing power, things of that nature. But either way, we're trying to run a job in AWS service that will call a database and execute a procedure. But ultimately, we're going to have this Python script do all of that. So it may not make sense, but it's if you want to get familiar with code, then yeah, man. Little bit by little bit, I think some of these live streams for sure, hope maybe some of the stuff we talked about will start to make sense. And it's becomes very beneficial too, man. Like, I don't know what career path you're trying to go towards, but even if you're not a developer, but at least if you have some knowledge, some insight, it'll help you out for sure. I think in any career. I don't say any career, but it can help you out for sure. All right, let's see if it's spinning up. Damn, it's still. Why did it take so long, man? There it goes. All right, cool. It's available now. So let me go to that cluster. What I may need to do is, because man, I have no idea where I saved my credentials. So let me see about if I could reset my credentials. There it goes. Boom. Change admin's password. That's exactly what I was looking for. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a random password. And I'm going to show it in my stream, which is fine because once I'm done, I'm going to ultimately, change the password again. So I think it'll be fine. Damn it, what happened? There it goes. Change password. Oh, it doesn't like the password. Damn it. So it doesn't like. What doesn't it not like? There's some special character that it doesn't like. That's what it is. All right, there it goes. I got it. Cool. All right, let me go back. Okay, so to be modified, I did change my password. What's my username, man? I don't even know. Now I'm trying to think. What the hell did I call? What did I call this? Properties. There we go, admin. So just call admin, I guess. All right, cool. So let's connect to admin. Let me connect to the database real quick because I want to see, do we even have a procedure in there already or not? Um, let's see. Why are they doing this? All right, give me 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. Let me connect to the Redshift real quick. Let's see. There it goes. Let's test this out. Okay, so all right, one more thing real quick. Let me enter in the connection for that Redshift. So I got the endpoint. Oh, I gotta sneeze. The username is admin. And let me get my password real quick. Let me test connection. Oh, it's not connecting. Why is it not connecting? Let me make sure the update's done. Yeah, there it goes. Update is done. It's live. I wonder, you know what? It may not be open. I'm pretty sure now that's what I'm wondering, if this is not open to my IP address. Let Let me see if that's the case. Let me see what is my security group. There we go, security group. Let's take a look at it. So we have, yep, it's not, I need to add this role in here. So in my case, let's go ahead and add Redshift. All right, cool. Now that what the hell? Oh, let me go back. Oh, damn. Okay, it is there already. What the hell? So that is odd. Why is it not working then? Can't see your screen. Yeah, let me put it back. So I'm trying to connect to it. Let's do test connection. But it's not connecting for whatever reason. I believe this is the right database anyways. Let me see if we could tell. So if I'm looking at Redshift database, yeah, there goes dev. Is that the right port? It should be the right port. Yeah, it is. Right port. It is available. I checked the security. I guess let me go to query editor. I mean, this should work. Yeah, so I was doing some testing before. This is where we kind of talked about it, and I mean we could go over another time because I know we're kind of getting towards the end of the stream. But this is where you kind of create external tables. And for example, I have this spectrum schema, and then this is where you can specify S3 buckets, right? In this case, I'm specifying 2 different S3 buckets, and ultimately, as long as it fits this schema, in whatever format it is, you could query it like a normal query. So, but again, that's for a whole that's another video. So we have dev, public. I think it was staging, but let me check. Let's see what we have. So we have sales, users. Do we have any sales data? This is data type. Okay, so we do got some sales data in here. Yeah. So let's say, for example, let's create. We don't have any functions in here, but let's go ahead and create. I don't know what we're gonna do here, but we'll do something in here, right? So let's go ahead and create procedure under the public's schema, and I just call this again, you could do updates, deletes, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You can even do but let's say in our case we're going to do, I want to just update the sales time for now in our case, right, to whatever today is. So they just call it update sales date for an example. So that's kind of what we're going to call it. Hold on, give me 1 second real quick. Okay, so let's do create or replace procedure public schemas, and then we're gonna do language as PL PG SQL as $, and then we'll do our begin. Let's say we'll do something like update public, what is it, sales table. And again, I'm just doing something basic. We don't really care what it's doing for now. We're just trying to see if it works. Sales time equal now, whatever now is. In, and then it would be $, to end it at the end. So let's see. Let's go ahead and run this. Oh, you know what? I think I know what I'm missing. There it goes. What am I missing here? Let me look at a sample that I have. I know I'm missing something. Dollars. Oh, you know what? I'm wondering, dude, is that it? Is it because I don't have that? You know what? I forgot to put it at the end of this statement. There it goes. Okay, so now that we have a procedure created, let's go ahead and refresh. Did we create it? Hold on. It should be under publics. Oh, damn. Did it go to a, you know what? I don't think it created it to, no, there it goes, dev. So it is under the right. It's under dev, publics. Oh, there it goes, procedures. My bad. I was looking at functions. So there it goes. There's our procedure name. Okay, so now that we got that created, yeah, I got the errors fixed. It's just these damn semicolons. You got to put that at the end of everything, right? At the end of every statement, at the end of the end, and the end of the $. So Yeah, that's what I was missing. I make it a little bit bigger. Just notice it's kind of small. All right, cool. So now that we have a procedure created, now we could go back to glue. We're gonna create a Spark script editor. Kind of give it the boilerplate of everything. We don't really need all of that, so we're gonna kind of delete a lot of it. But let's kind of take what we have here. So the username was admin. This stays the same. We're calling the database, so forth. Now our procedure, we have the name of the procedure, right? We just had it right here, which is this guy, Publix update sales date, right? Something basic, simple. So I'm gonna end up, oops. So now we put that, yep, we're gonna put that under our statement here. So this piece here, I mean, ultimately the way I would have done it would have been SQL call, and then that, then ultimately change this to SQL. I just like keeping it separate because, you know, especially if you have a long SQL statement, you don't want to put it all in there. Keep it separated. But that's just my preference in ways. All of this should be good. That's good. That's good. I may need to check the security group to make sure that it should run, but we'll find out in a minute once we run it. So let me go ahead and copy this. So far, everything looks good. I'm literally just going to replace everything that I have in here. Let's call this testing job executing procedure, right? It doesn't matter what we call it, but let's just call it that. Let me go to my details. Let's select my IAM row. What else? Spark is fine. Python 3. Yeah, I'm going to put just the bare minimum. Number of the workers, I'm going to put 2. Yeah, and try to say reduce cost. 0 retries, timeout, that's fine. Yep, that's it. Let me go ahead and save. Cool, now that it's saved, let's go ahead and run it. So let's see if it runs. We get an error message, or let's see what happens. So it's still starting up. Oh, never mind. So 9 seconds to start up. It's executing. So let's see if it executes or not. 18 seconds. It's actually taking a bit longer than what I thought, so it may error out because due to timeout purposes. But let's see if that is the case or not. Or there's just a lot of activity going on. There we go. They did fail. So let's see why. Why did it fail? Spark session object has no attribute. JDBC. That's interesting. I thought I did have a JDBC attribute. You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think it does. And this is where, again, ChatGPT probably got it wrong. What is it called? So if I look at the documentation, see right here we have a spark.sql. So we're actually calling the SQL statement. So for example, we look at how the Spark object got created. It would have been off of the Spark builder app name. But see, let me try to think. There has to be, you got to be able to specify your So let's see. Master, if you are running it on a cluster, you need to use your master name as an argument to master. Usually it would be either, depends, use local x when running in standalone mode. X should be an integer value and should be greater than 0. It represents how many partitions it should create when using our data, blah blah blah. Ideally, x value should be the number of CPU cores you have. Okay, so that's different than what we have for sure. But even if we make those changes, it's still, I'm trying to think now. Let's see. Query database table, which is the what we just had right now. So let's see, what is this doing? We have the JDBC. We have employee, which I'm assuming the employee table. Properties, which is the password, drivers, so on. So here's the thing. Obviously, this is wrong, right? And I say it's wrong because this does not even exist. Even now that I'm looking at the documentation, I don't see nothing either related to that. So let me try to find the actual documentation that strictly relates to this package. Is this it? I think it is. Ooh, I gotta sneeze. Oh man, I had to sneeze, had to step to the side. So in our case, trying to think of connecting to the database. So where there has to be a section on to come to connection. Okay, here's the session, right? Quick data frame, blah blah blah. PY Spark application starts by initiating the Spark session, which is the entry point of PY Spark as below. Yep, that makes sense. I get all that. So we're building that out. But we need to be able to specify what we're connecting to. And this doesn't show none of that. Okay, so let me go back to this. This one actually provided more details. So we have our session, and in this case is builder.master. And I think that's what this had as well too, right? No, this one just has spark.builder.getOrCreate. But it doesn't go into detail. Yeah, it doesn't show nothing in detail. Okay, so let me go back to this document. So we have builder, we have Spark session. Again, this makes sense. The master, see, this one has master local one. So this is more, seems to be resource related. So let me try that. So R just says builder master local dot app name get create. Then we have Spark, which is this Spark session, and that's where I want to see what all methods does this Spark session contains. By default, PY provides Spark objects, which is an instance Spark session class. Yep. Let me see if I could try to find real quick Spark session, but the source. There it goes. This is what I was looking for. Yes. So let's go to PY Spark. What am I looking for now? Which is PY Spark SQL. That's what it is. So let's go to SQL. What else? Spark session. There it goes, Spark session. All right, cool. So I found the class, and it's small, and make it bigger. So I found the Spark session class, which is what this is bringing in. I want to see what methods this has. So there's our builder, right? So we kind of saw that. We went through that already. What I want to see though is, so we have app name, all of that stuff. I want to see, because obviously there's not a JDBC method. There is a SQL, at least what we saw in the other example. And that's where I want to see here, what are we dealing with here? Version, config. So what does config relate to? Let's see, catalog. So let's see. What else? Create data frame. Nope, that's not what I want to look. What else is in here? I'm looking for there it goes, SQL. So there is a SQL method in here. So the first thing is actual the SQL query, right? Which is fine. But what I want to see though is we got to be able to specify before we run the SQL query. Then of course you have show. I'm assuming in my case I wouldn't show nothing. There has to be a way to, where we actually have a connection, right? Be able to pass in our so table read stream. So we're getting towards the end. All right, let me go all the way back to the top. So where do we build our connection at? So we have catalogs. So we create catalogs in AWS Glue. Let me see what else. So we have config, runtime configuration interface for Spark. This is the interface through which the user can get and set all Spark and Hadoop configurations that are relevant to Spark SQL. When getting the values from a config, this defaults to the value set in the underlying Spark context, if any. So let's see. So I may need to look at this config to see if this is where it's going to be. Get active session. No, that's not it. New session. So it must be under the builder piece. Let's see. Builder config. Configuration could be changed afterwards. Builder, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. The first method, check whether there is a valid global default Spark session. Well, that's the get and create. Never mind. That's not what I wanted. App name. Okay, so this is, yeah, this doesn't matter. Remote. Nope, that's not it. So master. Set the Spark master URL to connect to, such as local to run locally, local 4 to run locally with 4 cores, or Spark master to run a Spark standalone cluster. So in this case, it will be local, which is kind of what I put on mine. I think that's fine for that. Let's see, what else do we have over here? So config, this is what I was. So config, we have value, we have key value, then config. What does this represent though? So this is all related to that instance though. That's not what I need. What I'm looking for, the configuration when it comes to the database. So let me look back at let's see. So we have our Spark session. So this is all related to just some properties that we have. We have the URL, we have properties. Then ultimately we specify that, well, at least what we're getting back under a JDBC, but there is no JDBC though. That's the thing about it. There is no No JDBC, which makes sense because I don't see it in the documentation either. I don't see it nowhere in here. JDBC, nothing, right? So it doesn't exist in here. Um, okay, so let me. Okay, let me see what I could find real quick. Connect to database. Because what I'm looking for is the connection piece. Okay, so here this again is gonna read, and in this case it's gonna be Microsoft SQL Server, which is fine. And if we look at again, where does it specify the connection? Oh, here it goes. So it's under, there's an options, database, username, password. Okay, so where is this under? Simple data frame write. So we have Spark, our Spark session over here. Spark context. So let me see. Okay. Let's look at Spark session. So this is what we looked at initially. Let's see what else. So we got Spark session. Yeah, Spark session. Let me go back. Oh, that's not it. So let me look at Spark context. So we have Spark session, print Spark context. Okay, so that just specified in this case master one app, so on and so on. Okay, so let me go back. Let's see what else do we have. Let's see. Data sources, read CSV, read JDBC, read and write SQL Server, MySQL, read JDBC table. Let's look at the read JDBC table to see where that's coming from. So see how we have a Spark read.jdbc. So we don't have a JDBC, but we do have a data frame read.jdbc. So let's take a look at that real quick. So we look at the code for that. Builder app, this case specifying MySQL Spark read, and then inside here read.jdbc, which the first piece is the URL for the JDBC, and then you have properties. You know what I think is this read.jdbc. So if I come back, instead of being JDBC, it should be read.jdbc. So let me go ahead and copy this. What you put? You got 3 question marks. So did I get you? Did I get you lost? So for sure, like, so there is no JDBC method after the Spark object, right? Now there is a read.jdbc. So let's go ahead and run it that way to see if that works. So when the spark.read.jdbc does have where the first argument is a URL, which is what we have. The second argument is a SQL statement, which in our case is not a select statement, but it's a statement, the call procedure statement. And then the last statement is our properties. So it does, let's test it out to see if that fixed that issue. Let's go ahead and hit run. What happened? Why did it not run? Did it already run it? Dude, did I run it earlier? I didn't think I did. You know what? I wonder if I didn't hit save. Damn, did I not hit save? Yeah, let me save. I must have hit the wrong button, maybe. Alright, now that I save it, let me hit run one more time. What the hell, man? Okay, there we go. That's odd, man. It's kind of acting kind of funny. So let's run it. And normally it should run a lot quicker now, right? You could tell the startup time is a lot sooner compared to the first time we ran it. A little bit, right? Not by much, but somewhat. And let's see if how long did it take before? 38 seconds. 23 seconds. What happened? Did I miss something out? Cannot be none when column is specified. Well, that's the same error. Okay, see, this is a different error. So I'm getting a different error message now. Lower bound cannot be none when column is specified. Okay, so what? Let me make sure this is not the procedure, right? An issue with the actual procedure. So let me create a new. Let me take this procedure. And let's run it to see no, there we go. See, we're getting an error message as well. So SQL update statement now, function update line 3. What is my error message? Specified type or function 1 per not supported on Redshift table. Where can I find good studio, 1-bedroom apartment in Dallas, budget under $1,000? I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sure. So I live in Fort Worth, which is not too far away from Dallas, but I guess it depends on where you're trying to live, right? If you're trying to live in downtown Dallas, yeah, everything's expensive there. Um, Pretty sure there's probably some places. I guess it just depends on how close to downtown you're trying to stay. For sure, the farther away you go from downtown, the price drops. But if you're trying to stay near downtown, yeah, I'm not sure, man. To be honest with you, I would assume that most one bedroom in downtown area, especially like, it doesn't have to be the nicest apartment either, but it's probably gonna be like 1,500 or more at least. Would be my guess. Um. Okay, so let's see. What am I? Why am I getting an error? What's happening here? Let me take a look. So it says line 3. What the hell is wrong with line 3? Specify type or function not supported in Redshift tables. Dude, I'm doing an update. So update public schema cells, which, and make sure that we do have cells. Yeah, cells. Set cells time equals now, and update Steam. Let me make sure that this runs, man. Okay, so it's a SQL statement. What's happening here? Dude, I wonder if this is different data types. Timestamp without time zone. Well, now should have worked. Let me create a new. I'm trying to think why did I so let me just, yeah, that's odd. I'm not sure why I didn't want to update that, but to make it easier for now, we're trying to just execute something right in the procedure. So let's just go ahead. Let me take a look at the sales table real quick, and we'll update something else, man. Like, it really doesn't matter what we update. Main purpose here, just trying to, to keep it simple. I do with sales ID 3309095. So let's do something where, what is it called? Seller ID? Sales ID, my bad. Sales ID equals 33095. Let's update. I don't know. Let's update quantity sold, right? Let's update quantity sold. Quantity, so I'm gonna just say 99, right? So like right now, we take a look at this one. Quantity sold is 2. All right, it should be running. Dude, why is it taking so long? All right, so now let me run the bottom piece to see if we have any errors. Nope, no errors. Okay, that's good. So now I think we should be good to run it. Now let's go back. Where's my job at? Let me run it again. So we know the procedure did have errors. So I don't know that's why we got this error. This is a weird error, man. But we'll see in a minute. Nope, we still got an error message. Why? What was the error message for? Oh, dude, did I stop it? Damn it. That was my mistake, man. I don't know why. I must have hit cancel or something. Or I tried to rerun it again. Maybe that's what it was. So it's still running. Dude, it's already been running 48 seconds. 53 seconds. There we go. So now it failed. And it failed with the same error message. So let's go back and look at the documentation real quick. And maybe this is the reason why, but I wonder if it's because it's a read statement, which now gives me thinking, okay, if there is a read method, is there an execute method or some other method, right? That's in our case, we don't want to read it. We're just gonna call the procedure. So let me see this is read JDBC. There we go. So it was under data sources, read JDBC tables. Try one more thing real quick. I feel like we're right there, man. We're like so damn close on getting this solved. Let me see. So let's take a look at this real quick. So I know this would work, but I don't think that package is part of that. So like py spark session. Let's see, what are these guys? This doesn't work. In case someone is still looking for a method on how to do this, it's possible to use built-in JDBC connector of your Spark session. Follow the simple statement, which this is SQL Server. That's what that is. Nope, that's not what we want. Um, hmm. So probably what I need to probably should have checked this at the beginning. Does AWS Glue contain PY ODBC package? The new release AWS Glue Python shows includes Python libraries. Connect your script to SQL engine. SQL, okay, there. So it does have PYODBC. Damn. Okay. Man, why did I not know that? Dude, we should have done it that way then. Kind of going back to this. Let me. I'm gonna say using PYODBC package. Alright, so now let's take this code here and we're going to use the PYODBC package and ultimately just copy everything down, right? So again, my password, username is admin, database is called dev. Let's see, 5439 is our port. And then let me get my URL. Amazon Redshift 64, that's fine. Then let me get to my procedure, which would be this guy right here. So now that I have all of that, let me go ahead and delete all of this. I don't know if this is going to work with this script that I have here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this job. Delete. We're going to create a Python shell script job. Let me go, damn it. I'm going to copy and paste. Let's call this execute Redshift procedure. So let me go to my details. Same thing, IAM row. That's fine. That 3.9. Let's do 3.9. Number retries. We're gonna click. Yep, that's fine. Advanced properties. Yep. All right, everything's good. Let me go ahead and save this. Now that it's been saved, let's go ahead and run it. And now that it's running, let's go see. We have some success this time. Okay, so now it's executing. Still running. What happened? Cannot open driver manager. Cannot open Amazon Redshift. Not found. So you can't find the drivers. So PYODBC worked. This is not the right driver name. Drivers, perhaps. I wonder. And again, ChatGPT probably got that wrong. Like always, damn ChatGPT. So that being said, let me do PYODBC, Redshift drivers. So no, it does show the name of the 64-bit ODBC drivers is Amazon Redshift 64. So those drivers must not exist. And Amazon Redshift displays the ODBC URL for your cluster console. The URL can tell the information drivers, which is this. And that's actually valid. Server endpoint. UID, username, password. Yep, that's all valid. Make sure that it's actually in the right format. Yeah, no, that looks. Oh, hold up. This. No, that is right. Or is it? Yeah, it needs to be in the curly brackets, so that's valid. Never mind, drivers. Yep, Amazon, Redshift. Database, server, which is what I have. That's fine. Let me make sure. Dude, my password is not right. What the hell, man? Yep, my password is not correct. Why did I put that in there? Okay, well that didn't work. None of this. Why? What? I'm trying to think. Oh, never mind. That was for the password to separate it out. But I have it at the end. Let me put it all together. So that's fine. That's fine. Port, that's fine. Database, that's fine. UID, that's my username, which is fine. Then my password, that's it. So let me try this one more time and see if this actually works. Let me hit save. Okay, now let me hit run. Damn, may still error out. But package installation is required right first. No, not for PYODBC. PYODBC is included in the Python script job that you create. Not the Spark job, but the Python script job. If you use Python script job, PYODBC is included. But now the issue that I'm seeing here is related to the. So it does have it installed, the Unix ODBC. That's what I use whenever I program in Linux. But what it's doing here is it cannot open lib Amazon Redshift 64 file not found. Ultimately, it can't find the drivers for that, which is kind of odd. I'm pretty sure it has the drivers for all the other ones, would be my guess. But I guess it doesn't have it. So I'm trying to think. I'm obtaining the ODBC URL for the cluster. Install and configure Amazon Redshift ODBC driver for Microsoft. Install the Amazon Redshift ODBC drivers on Linux. So that's kind of what I think what's happening here. Those drivers do not exist. So I know there's another way that I'm pretty sure this is going to work, which is going to be through the catalog. And we have a connection, which is why it wouldn't be an issue, but it will be AWS Glue connect to Redshift. So this is to create dynamic frame, but in our case we don't want to create any context. We're not trying to pull nothing, but I do need to build a connection, which would be again something very similar to what we have here. So what I'll do is I'm gonna play around with it for a little bit, and then we could pick up again next week. The problem is PySpark we're able to connect, but it's more for reading purposes. So I think we have an issue there. PyODBC, that works. The problem is the drivers for Redshift are not installed in that instance. So again, now you got to deal with those issues, right? With the drivers issues for for that. Now there is ways to connect through the connection, because that's whenever you're moving data from, let's say, the database Redshift out to S3 bucket or whatever. Ultimately, it's pretty much pulling the connection from what we set up in AWS Glue, and it's able to establish a connection there. So I'm going to go down that path where we're going to set up use AWS Glue library to be able to go ahead and connect to Redshift, because I know that works. So I'm going to play around with that piece, and I think once we get that established, then hopefully we could then call the procedure right after that. But let's see. So yeah, I need to play around with that. But yeah, man, I say we'll pick it up next week, man. I'm gonna look into some stuff from now to then, and then next week we'll pick it up on the live stream again, and then hopefully some research that I have done. Hopefully we should be able to solve this when I'm live again next week. Snowfall in Dallas, dude. So we got an ice. We didn't get snow, we got ice. And everything had been frozen. So when did we start getting ice? Monday night? Tuesday, everything was frozen. By Wednesday, dude, or Tuesday night, Wednesday, everything was like, the road was literally like about a good inch or two, just hard, dude. like just frozen hard. Today it started finally melting, but cause we started getting rain. It started raining, but because we're in that borderline, we're like 32 degrees, 34 degrees. Of course, it started, the ice started to melt. But yeah, man, we didn't get snow. We got ice, and there were people I saw like on social media here in Dallas. They were trying to cross the bridge, dude. All you see like dozens of cars stand still. Everybody's all crooked. Nobody could drive. It was all ice, right? It's snow different. People could drive, but when you're dealing with ice, man, unless you got the proper equipment, yeah, you can't drive on that, man. Everybody was stuck there. People were trying to push their cars out, but they couldn't. Every time they try to push, they start sliding. They fell, and yeah, man, it was crazy. But finally, man, I think the everything's kind of melted away. It's still cold. I think tonight it's gonna freeze again, but everything kind of somewhat melted. So I think by tomorrow, roads should be good, and then by tomorrow evening, it should be probably like high 30s. So it'll be more than enough to melt whatever still remains. So it should be fine. All right, guys. So I'm gonna call it a night because man, we've been on for about almost 3 hours. So I'm gonna call it a night. Again, man, I do enjoy the live stream, so I'm kind of glad we're doing this again. I'm gonna look into this issue a little bit more, and then yeah, man, I think we'll find a solution. We'll find a solution one way or another. It's just a matter of what's the best method to do it. But we'll find a solution. But we'll talk about it some more next week. And yeah, guys, we'll go from there. So again, man, appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining the live stream. And yeah, guys, I'll see y'all guys next time.